Lapsansky. That's right? That's how you say your
Yes,
last name.
yes.
Okay. I was like, I think I remember it being said like that, but some people got weird last names where some of the letters aren't pronounced. You never
Yep.
know.
Yep. No, I used to have a little almost hand jive that used to go with it. It's like lap like on your lap, sand like on the beach, and then ski like in the mountains.
Oh
Lap
my
sand.
god.
Yeah, because nobody can pronounce it. So don't worry, you did amazing.
Okay. Well, I just tell everybody Hart, but without the E, you know?
Yes, yes,
Drop the
yes.
E on the heart and you're good. And they're
There you
like,
go.
what like they put an E at the end and
And
sometimes I'm just like, wow, okay.
of course they do. Yeah. That checks out. That checks out.
Anyways, so I'm excited to catch up with you. I've known Erin for years now, and she's one of the most amazing people in the industry by far. You take your knowledge to an insane level. Having studied horticulture in college, you have your master's, right?
Yeah, I have my master's in horticulture. Hmm.
Yeah, and bringing that into the cannabis industry and applying that knowledge and just really caring about the research as well that goes into it and like the actual information and how it gets translated to consumers as well, because the way that things can get misconstrued is so easy. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
Oh,
it's
definitely.
insane. So
Yeah.
you have proven over the years just how much dedication that you have to making sure that people are knowledgeable and understand it in an easy way for everybody. So
Thanks, dude. Yeah, way
yeah,
to gas me up. That was
that's what we
amazing.
do here is we gas people up
I
because
love
it's
it.
about time that somebody recognizes that women are highly intelligent,
Mhm.
pun intended, because
Yeah.
a lot of women in the industry smoke much more weed than a lot of the men do,
Yeah.
consume way more, and understand a lot more too, because we just spend the
Yeah.
time to research
Mhm.
instead of getting by on,
Yeah.
just whatever.
And
So,
I think our blessing as well is that like we have much smaller egos typically. I mean, obviously there's exceptions to every rule, but that's one thing to really admire about women in this industry is we keep our egos small and we like facilitate the spread of information rather than like, walling off or keeping isolated
right.
and things like that. So yeah, it's amazing to be here. I'm so excited. Yeah.
Yes. You yourself are going to be joining the RMR Podcast Network and
Yes.
hosting a show. And so
Yes.
that's so exciting. We have our
Yeah.
North American Weed Tour starting very,
Mhm.
very soon.
Yeah.
July 10th is the start of our North American Weed Tour. So we are
Yeah.
going to be talking to, I feel like, almost everybody in the country
Yes.
about legal cannabis or hopefully soon legalizing in some of these still illegal states.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, Grow and Tell podcast will be hosted by you. And
Yes.
that's so
I'm,
exciting.
yeah, I could not be more pumped. Part of my degree was also in teaching. So I have my teaching certificate. So, like you said, I've been with RMR for a while on and off, and I've always tried to digest the information from the research community for the cannabis community, because it's certainly not easy to read the primary literature. The studies that come out of Denmark or Finland or wherever, they're doing all this cannabis research isn't straightforward most of the time. And on top of that, like you said, my experience with research biology and horticulture in general has allowed me to do so many independent studies for nutrient companies or for pesticide companies or for breeders and whatnot, and have like actual data that we can look
Yeah.
at with high statistical power. That's not often what people get to have in I-502, especially in Washington, I guess, sorry, in the recreational market,
Yeah.
regardless of the state. So I'm really excited to meet with some interesting people. Everybody has really unique tips and tricks and their own way of doing things. And I don't think that any one way is better than any other way, So I'm really pumped to survey the land, if you will, or the
Yeah.
indoor facilities or whatever, and just hear, what people think is the most important thing that makes them different. Because differentiation, especially in markets that allow for branding, is so important, right? So
Yeah.
I'm
And
super
I really
pumped.
think the differentiation between different cultivators is going to be so important to bringing craft cannabis into the world, like craft beer is
Hmm.
acknowledged, you know?
Hmm.
Um,
Absolutely.
I think that market's going to be a beautiful thing because I am concerned with how the standards have become on the shelf. Because I mean, like, I'm not gonna blow anybody up right now, but I mean, I bought an eighth the other day, and there was mold on the inside of the lid when I
Hmm.
opened it up and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
And and that's because a lot of these farms will grow a whole bunch, package it, and try and sell it, and then it sits on the shelf forever and ever and ever, and that's not what we
Yeah.
want. I want
No.
this kind of craft, small batch.
Hmm.
It goes
Hmm.
out like farmers market. You
Hmm.
consume it that week,
Yeah.
and the
Yes,
next batch comes
totally.
out or whatever.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
um
I really want the care in every batch, that, not the commercialization like you're saying. I think you can do commercialized cannabis in an ethical and productive way for sure.
totally.
I think Washington State especially is going to have a pretty big market crash this summer, just because everybody produced so much during COVID, and now,
Yeah,
there's a lot of new legislature that's changing the market for us. But yeah, quality assurance is just not something to sleep on. Yeah,
yeah,
your consumer doesn't want to open mold, your retailer doesn't want to sell mold, and you certainly don't want to produce mold. So it's
yeah.
not a good thing. Three people got boned in that.
Yes. And you
Yeah.
have the interesting perspective as well because you've been on both sides of the
Mhm.
market. You've been
Mhm.
behind the scenes in the growing side as well as being on the sales floor. Are you
Yeah.
still managing a store at the moment?
Yeah, so I manage a dispensary in Bellingham, Washington called Trippy Hippie Cannabis, and we're doing really, really well. I'm very grateful for my team and how much support they give me and how committed they are to our mission, which is just
Yeah.
peace, love, and cannabis. So it's really straightforward. And we're at this point, so we only sell good
Yep.
shit. And every price point obviously has good shit. It's just about finding it and distributing it and educating our consumers, which we're, kind of in a community space, not
Mhm.
downtown. We're not, right off the freeway. We're in the neighborhood. And I love speaking to some of my elderly consumers, some of my newer consumers, more just people from Bellingham, and less people from, traveling. But obviously, they're always welcome to travel to us. But yeah, we're so fortunate. When I started working there pre-COVID, we would do days that were under $1,000 sales days, and now we're, doing much, much more than that.
That's good.
Yeah,
That's
so
good.
very pleased. And yeah, we don't give the corporate vibe. We
That's
don't,
good.
we prioritize local women and minority owned vendors, and we try and give all those people the space that they deserve on the shelf. Even if they can only supply us with a small amount of product every month, like they
Yeah.
still deserve to, yeah, have this opportunity to disperse their product and, yeah, reach their customers. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, it's really been really rewarding. It's been very different, obviously.
Yeah.
Cultivation is what I went to school for, and business is not what I went
Right.
to school for. But yeah, I smoke enough weed to know what's good. So
Right. Yeah. So would you say that you are enjoying it better on the retail side, or do you want to get back in a garden?
I love consulting for cultivation, but the actual act of watching over thousands of plants is so rewarding, and at the same time so all consuming,
Yeah.
that I never, when I was at my last facility, I didn't have like a really good vacation for a long time. And that work life balance is so important. And I think, yeah, there's a lot of factors that went into that. It's not any one person's fault, but I am kind of relieved that I can go back to mountain biking more often
Yeah.
and, paddling outrigger. And like I teach spin now. That's where I am right now.
Fun.
Yeah. So I have a lot more balance in my life than I did as a cultivator. But
That's good.
yeah. And I think, when you have a higher understanding for not a fun, a more education background, like more cultivation background, you should be able to do less of the hands-on work. But
Yeah.
I'm kind of into doing every little thing and leading by example, and sometimes that can come back to bite you in the ass. So
Absolutely. I've had to learn that. And the course of the pandemic has been a great learning experience for me to be able
yeah,
to be like, you know what? I don't have to control every aspect of it, and
yeah,
I don't have to overexert myself. Like, I think
no,
that's what's been so beautiful is I've been able
yeah,
to find that balance between everything and make
hmm
the time where I work more impactful, the things that
yeah,
I do more intentional. And it's been
hmm
so much better now because
hmm
I was very much so the same way where I was like, I need to see every single little detail and see it all out from start
yeah.
to finish.
Yes. Yeah. And I have to
And
say, like, my team at the dispensary is, I owe them so much because they'll even tell me, like, Erin, you need to go home.
yeah,
So shout out to them. Thank you for managing my life for me.
that's good though.
Yeah.
We do the same thing with each other in my store is
Yeah.
just like recognize like, like especially in retail through the pandemic, it's been taxing because a lot of the
Yeah.
customers, they're having the hard time just like we're having a
hmm
hard time. And,
hmm
not everybody can control those emotions. And,
No.
a lot of the times when they're coming in to buy stuff, they've probably run out. So they're probably not,
Yeah.
adjusted at that moment.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
so, yeah, it can be draining and it can be taxing. And so
hmm
recognizing that, having
hmm
coworkers who recognize that too, and
hmm
allow you to go and recover and
Yeah.
recuperate and take some time to rest
Yeah.
is so nice.
Yes, yeah. And I'll always grow. Like I always have my medical going. So I always
Yeah,
have some plants to take care of, but they don't
yeah,
need me 24/7 anymore. So
right.
that's a relief. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think it allows you to do an important part too on the retail side by educating people with having the knowledge on
Mhm.
the back end, because I find that not a lot of people do have that knowledge in order to give to the consumers. So I think
Mhm.
it's just as important being that bridge. And like you were
Mhm.
saying, and we were talking about earlier, in taking research and stuff and trying to translate it into layman's terms.
Mhm.
I mean, it's the same thing really on the sales floor or training your staff on the sales floor to do that as well.
Yeah.
So it's important. It's
It
important.
is. Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that every bartender that's medically certified has to do 10 hours a year of continuing education. And at least in our state, that is a very amorphous concept. There isn't like, here's your 10-hour, handbook. This is what you need to read or something.
Right.
They're just like, yeah, make sure, it talks about one of these four things and that you get a certificate at the end, which when you're on your own and nobody's directing you on how to gain that information, or like,
Yeah.
what do? You pay a third party to teach your bud tenders those things, but I don't have to do that. Like, I can easily teach 10 hours of so many different things. I could talk for probably 20 hours, so yeah, I'm very grateful that we can break it down, on, we can talk about neurons, we can talk about synapses, we can talk about human anatomy and physiology, or we can talk about, plants and nutrients and, plant biology and physiology and things like that. So yeah,
Yeah.
very cool. That's really cool.
Yeah. And a lot of those topics, I'm sure, are going to be discussed on the
Yeah.
podcast as well.
Oh yeah. My
Because,
favorite is taking, these, I don't know what the word is for them, but like these concepts in cannabis that developed in the black market that are founded in science, but that the people doing them didn't understand. So, for example, like moonshocking, I love talking about. Okay, well, what is the scientific component of moonshocking, and where is this misinformation coming from, and how can we actually apply it correctly using the scientific understanding of what's happening. So that's just one example, but
Yes, that is
yeah.
stuff like that is so
Yeah.
exciting. And some of the new studies that they're working on doing, it's like we've been doing these consumer studies for a long time as consumers
Yeah.
ourselves, but it hasn't
Hmm.
been in the controlled environment, in the right environment, in order to be like an actual, for sure, definitive kind of research to it.
Hmm.
And so now that things are opening up a little bit more on the research front to be able to study these things, it is so super exciting,
Yeah.
because every week there's some new information that we're getting on the floor,
Hmm.
to where we can help our consumers. And I've
Yeah.
been at my store for a few years now, and not
Yeah.
only that, I was at a store in the same neighborhood ish beforehand too. So some of my customers I've literally been serving for 4 years now, and
Yeah.
I've seen them grow, I've seen their habits change, and I've
Yep.
seen them gain our knowledge and be able to
Hmm.
like tell other people that. And I'm like, if
Yes.
the average consumer can relay this information, then we are doing our jobs right.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And they're bringing new people into cannabis and all of the
Yes.
benefits of it. And yeah, just like you're saying, like we didn't even need to have a study about the effects of CBG on SARS, virus until we had COVID. And now we know that like CBG can help prevent infection and things like that. And it's the science is always changing, our knowledge is always building, and I love that about it. I do. It's one of my favorite parts of science. I love that I could be so sure about something one day, and then the next day a new study comes out and I'm like, oh, okay, I guess I was
Completely
incorrect.
wrong.
Humbling. Yes, I'm humbled by that. Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Every
It's
day it
great.
lets me know that yesterday me was way dumber than today me.
Yes, yes.
And I
Yeah.
love seeing
Oh
that
yeah.
growth and that
Mm-hmm.
development. So,
Yep.
so where do
Yeah.
you stand on like some of the minor cannabinoids being put into products right now, and just shoved to the consumers without a lot of this like information to go along with it? Because like we've
Yeah.
seen some people, some vendors have put them in there and then
Mhm.
taken them back out, and then put them
Mhm.
in there because of sourcing issues.
Mhm.
So where do you what are your thoughts, how are you feeling about all of this coming in, just kind of quick fast things being shoved into people,
Yeah,
without a lot
I
of
mean, what we have to remember is like these things that they're shoving into these products they just didn't synthesize them or something.
right.
We moved away from whole plant extracts because we thought we just wanted THC. So there's no need, in my opinion, to fear things like CBG, CBN, CBV. They were in the flower before. It's just that we decided, no, let's make a distillate, let's distill THC to this ridiculously high content, 90%, 90 plus percent, because THC is the only thing that matters. And from, an herbalist background or knowledge of plants, we know that it's not just one molecule that is dictating the experience or the
Yeah.
benefits to the consumer. So while it's not necessarily the best practice to just go, CBG is sativa, let's make an edible that is THC and CBG, boom, sativa.
Yeah.
That's not everybody's body chemistry, right? Like we aren't really sure where it's binding, what it's manipulating, things like that. But we did the exact same fucking thing with terpenes, excuse my language, but
You're fine.
and we were all like, yeah, it's like definitely limonene. It's like definitely, and
Yeah.
we know from the primary literature that they're not co-binding like we thought they were.
Yeah.
Maybe there's an effect, but we can't find where in our anatomy that it is binding. Cannabinoids are binding though. CBG is binding.
Yes.
CBD is binding. Like there's some activity. But yeah, like I said, it was in the plant before. We just
Yeah.
decided that THC was the only important thing. And that's because people wanted to get fucked up. And cool. Okay. But
Yeah.
now we have to go back to having these 1-to-1, CBD, or THC plants, and these 2-to-1 and these ratio plants, because hemp, obviously doesn't have a high THC content, and
Right.
things in between, the plants in between then and now didn't have just THC or just CBD. They had a whole spectrum of things going on. And it was
Totally.
our fault and our artificial selection that made them into these THC dominant creatures that we smoke now. So yeah, I
Yes.
would say don't be afraid of it. Obviously always know where it's coming from. Like in Washington, we're having this issue with the Delta 8 because people were synthesizing or, selecting, isolating Delta 8 from hemp. And part of the issue is like the LCB isn't making money off that and they want to make money.
Let's be real.
Sorry. Yeah. And they're all the way back at how do we define intoxicating? Is Delta 8 intoxicating? And for people who are consuming it for medical purposes, it's like, that is not the conversation we need to be having. Like the conversation is now I can't eat because I don't have the molecule that helped my nausea, right? Like, so yeah, I want it to be safe, but I don't see any problem with regulating and testing and taxing. Go ahead and freaking tax it, my friends. But like, give us back our molecules. Give them back. Let us try it. Let us just give it a shot. You guys are too slow. Like we'll just we're out here. We'll smoke it. It's fine. Let's see what happens. Okay?
Honestly. And I think if they just let us have it, everybody will be a little bit happier and more understanding just in general.
Yes.
So we can push things forward a little bit more. I constantly, that's one of the biggest conversations that we have all day, every day. And I'm happy to hear a lot of our customers coming in saying, I know that THC doesn't matter necessarily, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
And I'm just like, thank you for finally like listening to us over years and years and years.
Yes.
It's like we need to transition into how fresh is this product? How was it grown? Where does it come from? Like, please tell me all of these details. And I just keep thinking about the Portlandia sketch when they go into the restaurant and they're like, no, what were the chicken names?
Oh my God, yeah.
That is so me though all the time. I'm just like, did you sing to your plants while you were growing them?
Yeah, because there are so many things go into making a good plant, just like so many things go into growing a good hardy heirloom tomato,
Totally.
Like people can appreciate that. People can appreciate a farm stand. Like let's learn to appreciate the same kind of sentiment from our cannabis cultivators. Yeah, absolutely. And not to shit on people who grow like commercialized big high production, but just can you still do that ethically? And can you still do that safely? That's really all we care about. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So where would you like, or where do you foresee the market going in the future with legalization or at least decriminalization on the table, and pretty much I think it's like 38 states now with medical or recreational at this point. So where do you see the future in the next like 5-10 years of legalization really?
I think it would be naive to say that, the capitalist wheel, whatever, will not somehow, throw a wrench in this whole system. The Anheuser-Busch of cannabis or the Marlboro, whatever you want to say, like they're bound to enter the market. They're bound to, take over something. That's just how it works. Like that's how our fucking country is designed, unfortunately. But my hope is, and I really admire Washington State for the fact that we have a not vertically integrated system, that we have our producers completely separate from our dispensaries. And the reason is because marketing and your ethics and the story behind your weed becomes so much more important. And so, say Anheuser-Busch wants to come buy Infused or whoever it is, like that's a conversation between Infused and Anheuser-Busch, and the consumers are going to know, okay, now Infused is owned by this mega corporation. Like, do I still want to buy it, or do I want to go to another company that stayed, like you said, craft? And I know the grower, he lives in my community, he wasn't sourced from somewhere else, or whatever it is, whatever their values are aligned with, they can buy weed that is compatible, if that makes sense. And my hope is that, someday, 10 years from now, you'll see me on the Discovery Channel with my own show and talking about talking about cultivation and yeah, looking at all these different craft growers and looking at the new molecules that we identify. I mean, THCP that they found in the medical cannabis in Italy,
Yeah.
that interests me so much. Let's do some genetic research. Like, let's see the genetic lineage. I want to do,
Yeah.
I want to do the nerdy stuff. I want to
Yeah.
do that. Yeah. And let's make GMO weed. Why not? What's going to happen? Who knows? That's the thing. It's like,
Yeah.
let's just shoot at the moon and like see see where we end up.
Yeah. I could foresee you traveling to the different origins of different landrace strains and like telling the history of this all. Like
I
I
would
can
love
see
it.
that.
I would love it.
So
I just want to educate
I'm
as
cheering
many
for it.
people as I can. Yeah, that's really, yeah,
Yes.
spread the green gospel, right?
Absolutely.
Yes, yes.
I am right there with you. I'm trying to be the stone David Letterman.
Yes.
I will be smoking a
Oh,
blunt on late night TV, interviewing
yes.
you about your travels, talking about cannabis on the
Oh,
Discovery Channel.
we have
This
a
is the
long career
future.
ahead of us.
Yes, we
Yes.
sure do. We are at the very start, the
Yeah.
very, very beginning of such
Mhm.
an important and influential industry that
Yeah.
I feel it in my bones. I've known it since I was a teenager, since I was very young. I knew
Mhm.
that this was going to be something that is I don't want to be over dramatic, but it's going to change the whole earth. I
Yeah.
feel like it being accepted on a global scale is going to be something that is going to change the way that we live, going to change the way that we approach, living with Mother Nature as well.
Mhm.
And
So much more respect for the earth because of it, right? Like I
100%,
have
yeah,
so much more of a connection and an emotional tie to like
yeah,
what nature presented to us. Yeah, I love
right.
it. Yeah,
And just
yeah.
bringing all of our resources to back into, I'm not saying necessarily 100% hemp, but like,
No.
hemp can do a lot, and
Yes.
and it's very strong, and it's
Hmm.
very easy and quick growing. Like I'm
Hmm.
just saying, it's going to transform so many things for us, that
Hmm.
it is so awesome to have, people like yourself, as a pioneer in the industry, even
Yeah.
though it's been around for a while, and like the medical game has been around for a little while in certain states and stuff. California's been, it's decades now.
Hmm.
But as far as like an industry, and being viewed as a professional and everything, like, you're one of the pioneers of this, and we'll continue to bring it into, a whole new era, of in once we finally deal with getting rid of it off of the,
Get it off the schedule. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, right, like it's
criminal
nowhere
behavior.
near as bad as heroin. Okay, can we
No,
please like get rid of
no.
that stigma?
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
it's been just incredible to be able to connect with you and talk about this,
Yeah.
and I'm so excited to see where your conversations go on the Grow and Tell
Yeah.
podcast. I'm
Mhm.
excited for this North American weed tour, because there's so many states literally in the past year since our last one that have, legalized, and there's a lot of new products. And I mean, just the market is so different every single day, that it's going to be so cool to reach out and talk to so many people and just
Mhm.
find out where everybody else is at, because
Yeah.
coming from Washington, we know where we're at. We've been doing this for a while now.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
No, I'm very excited. I'm very blessed at this opportunity. And
Yes.
yeah, I think we're gonna have some weird conversations. That's gonna be my goal, is to just get it as weird as
Awesome.
possible. So
Yes, keep it weird, keep it
yeah.
fun.
Yes. Yeah,
Soon as we
absolutely.
like start to get stuffy and the suits come out, that's when
Mhm.
cannabis, I feel like, is just going to
Mhm.
be like a drag.
No, none of that. None of
So
that.
I'm fighting for it to keep it as a very holistic and a very wellness based kind of a
Mhm.
feeling.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I'm
Same. Yeah.
excited. I'm
Yeah.
excited. Any
Yeah.
final thoughts or any last minute?
No, man, it
sentiments
was
you
it
have.
was so good to see you, and I want to hold you in
Want
person.
to
I want
hug
to touch,
you.
I want to hug you.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm glad we're coming out of this, and yeah, I'm so excited for the tour, be a part of the tour again. Yeah, I can't. I'm so pumped. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. It's gonna be good.
Yes. And
Mhm.
so again, the North American Weed Tour, it's going to be starting, I think that's Sunday. I don't know. My days of the week and everything are
I think it's a
weird.
Thursday.
Yes.
Yeah.
710 is on Sunday. That
Oh,
also
shit.
happens to be Dabbers Day if you
Yes,
dabber
oil
during the
day.
holidays. Yes,
Flip it
oil
upside down.
day. And I'm all about my oil. I love it. Give me some nicely squished rosin, and I'm a happy, happy, happy camper. So I will be dabbing all day
Good,
on
good,
Sunday. But
good.
join us because it's going for the rest of the year. We're going through December. It's going to be a fun rest of the year. The
Yep.
team's going to be exploring all over the place, going across
Mhm.
the country and checking out different farms, smoking a whole hell of a lot of weed, and just
Mhm.
talking about cannabis and where the future lies for us. So
Yeah,
keep
yeah.
with us. And
I will.
yeah, again, yes, I'm so excited. I can't wait till the day that we get to see each other in person and
I
smoke some
know.
weed together. So
Yes. Woo!
yes. Thank you so much for coming on the
I
Higher
know.
Woman podcast with me. And thank y'all for tuning in and watching. So I will catch you next week, same places as always. Same face, different guest, all that jazz. So